Welcome to the Building Doors Podcast, where we're not just pushing for opportunities for women's voices to be heard, we're creating them. I'm Christy Harst, voiceover actor and creator of the Building Doors campaign. Join us as we amplify voices, break barriers, and build doors together.
Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here. Welcome to the Building Doors Instagram Live for May. I'm your host, Tina Zaremba, and today we're diving into a topic that hits home for so many creatives, and that is the starving artist mentality. And how do we dismantle that? We've got three incredible guests joining us: Alexandra Janelli, Tanya D. Jones, and Laura Bailey-Wickins. Each are going to be bringing powerful tools and insights to help us flip the script on what it means to be a thriving artist in the 21st century. This is an interactive convo, so don't be shy. Drop your questions or thoughts in the comments anytime, and we'll bring you into the conversation. And if you want to share more after the live, call 216-307-1917 and leave a voicemail with your biggest takeaway or aha moment. We'd love to hear from you. And a big thanks to Jessica Blue and Marion Mills for buying us a coffee this week. If you want to support us and what we're building here, from these lives to the podcast, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/buildingdoorsVO. All right.
You're doing great.
Well, sweetie. Okay. So we're here to challenge the outdated idea that artists have to struggle. And this conversation is really about rewriting that story through mindset shifts, subconscious programming, entrepreneurship, and a smarter approach to how we show up online. Because if we're real, if no one knows what you do, they can't hire you, refer you, or even root for you, right? So you don't have to become a brand, but you do need to be visible. And now I would like to introduce you to our guests and have them share a little bit about themselves before we do a dive into this talk. So, Laura.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Bailey-Wickins. I'm a digital marketing professional. I own Spurt Strategies, a New Jersey-based digital marketing agency where we focus on developing content for lead generation and demand generation for small business owners, freelancers, and small teams. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm looking forward to having this amazing conversation with these amazing ladies on how to, build your presence online, how to, develop an entrepreneurial mindset. Thanks so much for showing up today.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Tanya.
I didn't know that someone literally bought you a coffee, Tina, with your butt.
Well, I'm drinking my tea right now. Yeah, you can buy some coffee.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tanya Jones. I am a sort of 2-decade-long plus a few more years long producer. I worked in production since graduating from college in 97. I'm also the owner of Mama Bear Media Group. I'm the founder. I left corporate media in 2020, right before the pandemic, decided to go off on my own. So I have an independent production company. In 2014, while working in corporate, I did a 9-month training and I became a certified professional coach. So a lot of you know career coach, life coach. I'm sort of a beautiful mix of both, but underneath the career and the life or the personal is really, your life and the decisions you make. So I just call myself a coach. I also recently, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit, about sort of that idea of the thriving artist and rewriting your narrative. I rewrote my narrative a bit last year in 2024 when I just declared that I wanted to do something creative that was not tied to a client and tied to guardrails that I didn't establish with my co-creator. So I started a storytelling event here in Harlem called Can We Kick It? It's a live storytelling event where storytellers give us a story for 5 to 8 minutes based on a music title, so a song title. And that's really been like my baby. And of course, the coaching is also, I always call it's my heart job. So I sort of have this three category career path right now, which I'm loving and enjoying. And I'm so excited for tonight's conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, Alexandra.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexandra. I am a certified hypnotherapist and also a coach. I like to think that they go hand in hand. I help people by tapping into the subconscious mind, which is where all of your belief systems and your core values and all of your reactions and your emotions are stored. And everything from the moment that you're born until today is learned through association, right? So the reason that we react is because we've had these experiences that create how we relate to the world around us. You're not born with them, they're all learned. And so what I work with clients on using hypnosis is to say, where are you right now? Where is it you'd like to go? And by using hypnotherapy, which we'll get into that's a whole other conversation, what hypnosis is, but it's really tapping the subconscious mind to help provide images and feedback to create new neural pathways of how life can be so that you have a path to follow, because the unknown is something that's really scary for a lot of people. And so when we don't know what the future looks like, we're going to borrow from the past. And if your past is riddled with, I never got the job, this didn't happen, or I'm a failure, it's going to keep rewriting that story over and over until we change that story. And so that's where I work with clients. I've been in private practice for over 15 years, worked with top celebrities, CEOs, all the way down to children. And I just recently launched my app, Go Burble, which is a at-home hypnosis platform to help you create change from home. Because I was like, I can't help everybody, but if I can create it and put it into a little amazing app, then you can create your own hypnosis sessions, which is amazing and awesome. So go get it.
Nice, nice, nice. I want to actually start off with you, Alexandra, but real quick, I've worked with all three of these women, and this topic is near and dear because it's something that I've struggled with. So with that, Alexandra, I'm going to ask you a question. What is one belief or subconscious belief you've seen artists, and by artist, it could be a voiceover actor, it could be a dancer, a writer, struggle with over and over again?
I think there's a couple different things. One is the I'm not good enough, right? I think we all have that demon, that gremlin, the saboteur, whatever you want to call it, within us, right? And I think there's this belief. I think we all get into doing what we want to do because there's a deep desire, right? Like, I want to be an actor. I want to be a voiceover actor. I want to do this. And I think we write the script sometimes how things are supposed to go, air quoting, versus what the path will look like for us individually. And I think there's a lot of belief systems that we get indoctrinated into from friends, family, right? Like maybe you said, oh, I want to be an actor as a kid, and your parents were like, oh no, you're going to be a doctor. There's no one makes it in, you have to be a Nepo child to make it in acting. And so we start hearing these feedbacks, even though our true wants and desires come from inside, where it's like, no, but I really want this. We first have to understand, what is that deep desire? Because that's your internal core. What does this bring out in me, right? What about this is important for me? What does this show me about myself when I'm in my element? And then also to understand like the stories that your mind is taking in, right? From belief systems of the people around you. What is society telling you? What are the magazines telling you? The news? And you have to really make a choice of like, do I want to believe those things to be true? While also accepting that like life doesn't happen in a vacuum, nor does it happen on our timeline. Typically, it happens at its own pace. And truly the only concept of time is the distance between cause and reaction. So if I plant a seed today, not everything grows really quickly. Sometimes it grows long term. Sometimes you do get a weed and it grows really fast and it's not great, but everything is cumulative, and it's keeping that in mind as well.
You mentioned about story and that, it can be from our family, our friends, the media. How do you encourage your clients? And I want to open this up. Like I said, I really want this to be a conversation. So, Tanya and Laura, feel free to chime in with your thoughts. But how do you encourage your clients to dismantle a story that may not be serving them, especially when it comes to their professional career.
I mean, it always starts, I would say any change starts in the process of awareness. And that can start by just listening. It's like, I know for me personally, I just sold my spa, which is exciting. It's amazing, but I'm stepping into a new role. And there's a lot of chitter chatter going on in my mind of belief systems coming up. Can I really do this? I'm not good enough. But I need to asking questions is a really powerful tool of like, what are these thoughts trying to help me do? Like, they are on many levels trying to help you. And so one tool that you can do is imagine this part of you. It's not your logical, rational, reasonable adult self. It's a part of you. Put them in a chair in the room with you. It's like, get to know them as a third party, because it's easier to give advice to somebody else, right? How easy is it to give advice to a friend of yours and be like, oh my God, stop. You can totally do this, blah, blah. But giving your advice to yourself is really hard. So take that part of you, whether it's your fear self, your anxious self, your angry self, whatever it is, put them in the chair, get to know them, ask them questions, and troubleshoot. How do you come up with a solution?
Yeah, I'll jump in too. I mean, I think all that Alexandra is sharing is on point. The idea is that what we're trying to do in that process and in those exercises really is to get to what's possible. When I work with clients, we get to the beliefs. Where did they come from? Where did you learn those beliefs? And then we look at like what else is possible. So like you can work with that inner critic and put them in the chair. And it's like sort of like a dance, right? Like, okay, you're showing up today. Let me hear what you have to say. And now what I'm going to do is maybe there's another chair over here, which is my chair of possibility. What else is possible? And sometimes we don't know what else. Like we're in this sort of stuckness state. But I always ask clients, like, what would your mother say is possible? What would your bestie say is possible for you? And when you ask that question and invite ourselves. I don't want to talk about this as though, I'm always talking to a client, but invite yourself into that space of like, what else is possible? And then I think that's where like your curious mind goes there. I'm always a fan of writing stuff down too. And then it just like begins to open up. I've watched a client just become more energized when they look at what else is possible. And sometimes it's sort of like, well, I guess I could have a conversation with the boss, or I guess I could maybe reach out to someone and ask them to mentor me. And there's this sort of resistance, but then we go even deeper and what's possible in that conversation. So I think this idea, I always call it like you're literally like shifting lanes, and you don't have to jerk into that lane, but take your time and move through it so you can see what that possibility looks like. And then let that possibility help you now cultivate new beliefs as you go on to kind of get out of that place of stuckness.
I just love the self-compassion, right? That's from this advice. And I've had my own like journey. I've dabbled into, seeking out EMDR therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy just to understand how the brain works and understand why I create these narratives in my head. And I think I owe a lot to, launching my own business from what I've learned from exactly what you ladies are talking about in like sitting and asking yourself, where are these narratives coming from? But I love the question that you posed, Alexandra, before about how are these narratives trying to help me? Because I think in the past, I've heard a lot of advice of, asking yourself, where are these narratives coming from, or do they serve me? But I love the approach of asking from a positive stance of like, how are these narratives trying to help me? Because it comes from a place of self-compassion. And I think that's where we need to be at all points as we, go on these journeys as creatives, as small business owners, as women in profession. I think that seems to be a way that, helps people really launch into their next step.
Yes. I have a question. First, I want to share a comment here from, I believe it's CX Box. And this person says, I love the reference to seeds there, as some seeds need to be scarcified in order to be planted properly. So the damage is actually a catalyst. Yeah. Looking at narratives and stories, can you share either of you, Tanya or Alexandra or Laura, a client or personal story where the mindset shift unlocked to success and how that unfolded for that individual?
I'll just jump in with my own personal story. I actually have a few stories, but the one that I just thought of was, I was sort of planning this exit to leave my corporate job. And I remember talking to so many people before doing it. And I happened to talk to someone who was my mentor. And he said, you've been talking about making this move for years. And, what's stopping you? And came out and said, I'm scared. I'm scared of losing my income. I'm scared of what happens with my benefits. I'm scared to leave. And those are really the only reasons why I'm scared. And he said to me, what's wrong with a little bit of fear? And that question, an empowering question, right? I felt the anxiety leave my body because he made it so small in the context of something so big, which is my life, right? It's my power. It's my freedom to choose. It's my launch pad to like have the freedom and the autonomy that I was really looking for and desiring. So when he said that to me, it just sort of left my body. And that's when I think maybe 2 days later, I went to HR to say, I want to move on. It's time for me to do this. I've had an amazing, tenure here. There are bigger things that are out there for me. I'm taking a huge risk, but I need to move on and move forward. And I think empowering questions can help shift you in such a big way. And I think Alexandra touched on that earlier. I mean, that's what coaches do. We're not there to tell you what to do. We're helping you like peel away the layers and get to the core and what's underneath, what's underneath sort of the fear and the doubts and all of those things. So that's one story that, stands out to me. And I think as we work around changing our narratives, again, like what else is possible for myself? What else was possible for me in that moment was that I could just really go on faith, go on my family to lean on if I got stuck financially, looking into options for healthcare on my own and like doing some of the work. So again, that cultivating like, okay, there's a new possibility. And now I get to believe something new, which is like, I'm going to be okay. I am going to be fine. And I'm going to be able to do this and do it scared, but I've got to believe that it's all going to work out. So that was my story. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Alexandra, do you want to share?
Yeah. So I'm just going to start sort of in a very weird part of the story. And it has to do with energy. And if you worked with me, which Tina has, I am big on energy and not necessarily in the sense of like, well, I'll just say like energy comes in frequencies and it comes with emotions, right? So I think when one thing is for everyone to really understand, like self-help culture has told you in so many ways that it's so easy to navigate through all these things. We're like, I'll just do ABC, and Instagram makes it sound like everything is like, oh, follow these steps and you'll be a multimillionaire. But the true story is like everyone's path is different. And when we all go to our stress states, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a cat, a dog, a human. When you get stressed out, you're going to go to one or two places, which are either like the guilt, the fear with low action potential, or you're going to go into this more anger, like fueled state, which is going to get you moving. Both of them are very low frequency energies. One just happens to have a little bit more energy because you're more willing to take action. But like it is a normal response to go into these guilt, fear, worry, stress, anger, resentment, all of that. And so like you are most likely not a person who in that state, like born and bred. You are just at the effect of life. And by understanding that you're just in a stress response state, there are tools that you can learn to move out of them. But the first step is recognizing, oh, I'm just in a response, like a triggered state right now. I'm in a stress state. Feeling your feelies is very hard. But I always like the more that you can learn to sit with your feelies, like it's been something I've really struggled with because like, let's face it, emotions are heavy. They're hard, but they demand to be felt. And 9 out of 10 times when I'm working with clients in my office, there is such a disconnect of being willing to like have that part of you that has those feelings. It's like, I shouldn't feel that way. It's like you just shut them down. The anxiety builds, the like fear builds, the worry builds. And it's just like, but shouldn't feel. It's like, wait a minute, but you have to. That emotion wants to be felt right now. So like, how can you process that? How can you sit with it and understand it again, going back to that, so that you can move through it? And these are things that it's not easy, but the moment that you can just sort of like, it's like, yes, I am sad. I am disappointed. I am angry. I am all of these things. You can actually learn a lot from your anger, right? Anger is there to tell you, what am I not getting that I want? So that you can then take it to a higher frequency to go, okay, so how do I then implement this into an action plan to get that? Or how can I communicate this better with my boss that's not listening to me to get a different outcome? But sometimes you're going to be in those triggered fear, anxiety. I just need to withdraw. I know for myself, I just went through a total like trip out from like all the stress I've been under. And I just knew my process enough was that I just needed to like fall apart for a little bit. And like, I know myself enough that I have a process where it's like, okay, I've hit my max. I need to just shut down, shut out people and just be by myself, feel my feelings, understand that they're normal. And then I trust myself enough because I've gone through enough of this to go, okay, I'm going to come out the other side way better. And I do. I kind of bounce back way quicker. Now, are there things I can do to not get to that burnout? Absolutely. But right now I'm in a period of like high stress. So like, I can't change that necessarily until some of the environmental factors of selling my business chill. But it's like, I don't have to be, but I've learned to be much more tolerant of the emotions when they come up, but they're real.
So let me ask, because how do you all navigate stress? Laura, I'd love to hear from you. Because for me, I'm like, okay, that's all great, Alexandra, but I get myself like Ben and Jerry's and, have a breakdown. And that's not even intentional. But Laura, I want to chime in here, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first step, which is what, the ladies here have been alluding to, is that there's no escape. Right? Just embrace that life is hard. Being an entrepreneur is hard, and you're going to have to sit in some discomfort every once in a while. But what I like to tell myself, especially when I'm going into like scenarios where I don't know anybody, and I'm an introvert, so I get a lot of stimulation from being around people, and then I get exhausted. What I like to tell myself is, Laura, you are showing up today exactly as you need to be, and just show up as who you are. And if I show up a bit tired, or if I show up stressed out, or show up nervous, that's just how I am today. And I think if you learn to talk to yourself in that way, where you, accept yourself for who you are in the moment, it takes a lot of the pressure off to perform. And I think that's where a lot of anxiety comes from, especially, in my scenarios and when I speak with people, who are uncomfortable with promoting themselves. It's like, you're just, entering onto a stage and you're just giving the best darn performance you can, but just know that it is hard, and that's okay. And that's how I like to tackle stress. I hesitate to give out coping mechanisms or like advice, because it's different for everybody. Sure. But I think, looking inward and just being kind to yourself in the moment is like what I would recommend for anybody as a first step.
Yeah. I can't have these conversations without, really bringing in the part of me that Tina knows so well, because I've been with her in the trenches. It's like the spiritual part of me is all of me, right? So, with clients, I would never say like, try meditation or anything like that. We try to, again, create like what works for you. What is that one thing? What have you done? That's the other thing. History tells us so much about ourselves, right? So sometimes a client may not know in the moment, like, what is that thing? But tell me a time in your life where you did something to de-stress, where you did something where you walked away from that fear and embraced possibility. And there's normally an example of that time. But I think for me, like, I'm big on praying. I am big on meditation, having meditative walks. I am big into astrology. I am big into checking in with psychics and mediums, because that's who I am. That's where I get my assistance and my support. So I think we're all saying the same thing here, which is everyone is different. Find the thing and embrace the thing or things or ways of thinking or being that fit you and feel authentic to you. Because I think I agree, like, I post things on Instagram too, but like someone has to find the things, like we all do. We find the memes that resonate with us, that we're like, I got to repost this because this feels like me. This makes sense to me. This one blew my mind. But again, that connection to the words or connection to the story. And for me, my connection, and Tina knows this, back to one. It's going inwards, like you just said, Laura, and listening and just taking a breath and getting into my body, like what is coming up for me and what can I do to get out of this frenetic state. And sometimes it's walk, and sometimes it's literally just to say, thank you, and that self-talk. I love that you brought that up, Laura, because self-talk is real. And it's not crazy to talk to yourself in the shower, talk to yourself in the mirror, give yourself those beautiful, like, affirmations or prayers or whatever it is, because the words are energy. The words are frequency. For me, it's when I go to church and the pastor is doing his thing and I'm like, oh my God, I walk away from that feeling so elevated, so hopeful and optimistic, and tapping in community, right? That's going to like de-stress me too, to go for a coffee with a friend or get on the phone with Tina or leave a little voice note for Tina or my sisters or whoever. But that is, for me, it's that connection to others. I'm not alone. And I think to that artist, that idea of like the starving artist or whatever, the beautiful thing about artists is that that is what we do. We do tap in. We are intuitive, and everybody is, truly. But with an artist, and I have a lot of friends out there who are artists too, they get in the body, or they're going to express themselves creative wise, whether it's music or reading a script or reading a book, etc. So we all have it within, right? So when you go back to one, that's your treasure trove for possibility.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I want to acknowledge a couple things from the chat here. Marion Mills 804 says, how does one improve their emotional intelligence? Because so many times people mask their feelings and don't allow themselves to be emotional. So Alexandra, do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think if I go back to looking at kids, right? When you go to a hospital and you ask a child, where are you on the pain scale? You don't show them a chart of like 1 to 5. You show them a smiley face or an angry face or a sad face. One tool that you can certainly go on is like find all the different emotions that one might be on the rainbow. And it's sort of giving yourself permission to go, what am I feeling right now? Right. And you can like, look, it's like, am I feeling angry? No, that doesn't match. That doesn't resonate. Like, and go through them. I mean, that might seem very elementary, but like those are the emotions that you can get to know. I also think the more we can get to understand what each emotion feels like in our body, right? I know when I'm angry, I feel it like in my chest. It feels like heat flaming up through me. And I'm like, oh, that's my anger. So again, like it takes an awareness to remember, when we can't release energy, it goes inward to the body in different ways. You're going to feel it. When we're stressed out, an interesting thing happens, right? Our conscious mind, our logical mind can take in a lot of information. It's like a cup. But as you go through the day and as your emotions build, right, whether it's an environmental stressor, your pants are too tight, your significant other's pissing you off, your cup fills up until it all of a sudden starts to spill out, right? And that's when we can't handle all that stress. And what happens to the mind is we become more and more closed in and myopic. And when we're stressed, we typically go into this very myopic, like closed in state where the stories start playing out and spinning and spiraling. So one thing I always tell people is if you can just be aware that that's even happening when you're feeling the stress, like try to zoom out, like open up your scope of focus to just even being more present to the world around you. Like, again, like a lot of therapists will be like, name 5 things that you can see, because you're redirecting your mind out of your head back into your environment to reconnect externally so that you have a relational difference between like not just being inward in your thoughts, but being outward and reconnected. And like, lastly is also when you're feeling stressed, remember, like, there's a point when a car is on a hill when you can stop it from rolling, right? It's like, I'm starting to get stressed. What can I do? But when the car is rolling down the hill, like, there are times you're just going to have to get the hell out of the way. And like, the car's going to kind of just take you down. And maybe those are the times that, yes, maybe you do have a drink. You have your other coping mechanisms that might not necessarily be as healthy, but like, you're going to work on them and keep building up better and better and stronger and stronger. But having that awareness, and also when you're feeling stressed, like, what is your safe place? I think safe is a really big word for a lot of people when we don't express emotions when we don't feel safe typically. And so it's, where can you feel safe to like find your comfort, borrow confidence from other people as well.
Nice. Laura, thank you. You know, it's funny, in acting school, I had an acting teacher that told me once, when you feel nervous, to notice 5 things in the room. So I was thinking about that when you were sharing that. Laura, this is from Voiced by Jada. And this person says, being introverted in a self-marketing world is hard. And I'm just wondering, seeing that you have a specialty in digital strategy and marketing, what your thoughts are around actionable steps artists can take to put themselves out there, even if they're an introvert, and still feel true to themselves, where they're not, doing the veneer.
No, I think being an introvert in our world can be challenging sometimes, because the way that we like set up our work goes, and our professional life and personal life, it does require a certain amount of energy. And the idea behind introversion is that some people get energy by being around a lot of people all the time, and then other people get a little overstimulated and they get exhausted. I think figuring out what your work style is, what your habits are, where you start to get, tapping in, like everyone's been talking about, somatic exercises and looking inward, just understand where your limits are. So you can try to see when that car is rolling downhill and try to get there before, it rolls too far. But I think there's also a misconception that being introverted means that you're limited in some way. And I would actually argue that it's a superpower. So, studies to show that people who fall within the, that spectrum of being introverted or shy or whatnot tend to be a little more observant of behavioral patterns. And this is a real superpower, especially when you're an artist and when you're looking to promote yourself, because you have a tendency to look beyond the surface level, and you can, really analyze what's going on in what the person's subtext is, or what, potential context for an opportunity for you and your business might be. So I meet a lot of different types of artists. So something that I like to do on the side too is join a lot of film sets. And I'll join as like a PA, or I'll help, as a grip on a film set. And in all creative work, you've got different personalities. Like, people go into art for different reasons, and they have different personalities and different strengths and skill sets. A lot of the folks that I'll meet, who are arguably not the actors, but usually the crew, have this like shy idea around what it's like to promote yourself. I hear a lot, I like to be behind the camera because, such and such. That's why I'm not in front of the camera. Usually I like to be behind the camera. Or voice actors might say, I like to do the work within the comfort and confines of a studio. I don't like to have my face on camera. And what I'll tell them is, like, it's fine to be behind the camera in your work, but you can't be behind the camera in this proverbial camera of your career. And this is something that we talked about in the beginning when you mentioned the intro, Tina, where you want to be found, you want to promote, you want to be found online. You want to make sure that people know who you are, that you're developing a reputation for yourself. But I would say for a lot of artists, especially those who might identify as introverted, is not to think about promotion as like putting yourself out there. What you're doing is you're building a community of people. And I think when you approach it that way, it's a lot less daunting. So it's like when I go out and I meet with prospective clients, it might fall through. We might not end up making a deal, or they might decide I'm not the right fit. But I've acted is somebody in my network now, somebody that I can speak to, somebody that I can refer, somebody that I could maybe recommend to somebody else. And I think when you think about it as a way of like building community, it's a lot less daunting to give out your business cards or to like create a website to showcase yourself in your work. So that's my advice is, maybe shifting the way that you perceive promotion.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what's one actionable way artists can start generating intentional income? And I think that right there is one step right there, shifting your perspective when you do put yourself out there. Perhaps it's building community. Perhaps it's coming from a place of service. Tanya,
Yeah.
what do you think, my friend?
Yeah. In terms of that intentional income, I mean, listen, income is intentional. We got bills to pay. We're talking about artists here and that narrative of, building a life and fueling your passion. So I would say, and this is coming from my own experience and just in conversations with, communities or even clients, is really like when you've done this exercise of going within, recreating new beliefs, looking at what's possible, test out those possibilities, So test, the idea. I encourage writing and journaling as a way to get it out of your body, also get it out of your mind, put it on paper, but just testing something. So for instance, the storytelling event that I co-produced, Can We Kick It? We didn't charge anybody. We didn't charge anybody, in fact, for a whole year because we wanted to really test it to see. But as we kind of, the intention was, let's bring together the community and tell stories because we know that stories unlock healing for a lot of people. So in my story that I tell, you're going to hear something most likely that resonates with you. So we knew that there was something special about storytelling. I had already told a story twice at a storytelling event in Westchester County here in New York. And I knew what that felt like for me to be the storyteller and to take that exercise of writing the story. So when we came together, Cedric and I, and co-created this awesome storytelling event, we were like, let's just test and see what happens. And what happened over time, I think we're now at like coming up with show 7. In the year of 2024, we did 5 shows and it just like progressed and progressed and more people were interested. More people who visited the prior events came back to say, hey, I want to tell a story. So it then was like this beautiful ripple effect where people saw people telling their stories, walked away, and that, in some way helped unlock something for them that they were able to have the bravery and the courage to maybe tell a story themselves or do something in their personal life that then created breakthrough for them. So we knew like, okay, we're testing this out. And I think that's so important. I have a group of girlfriends and we just did an angel card reading workshop back in December. And again, that was just this test. And I think, what does support look like for you? That's always one of my questions for a client. What does support look like? And get them to describe who is there, who's showing up. And some people may not think they have that support, but then we work on like, how do you find people who are like-minded, who are willing to be vulnerable and who value what you have to bring and value your voice. So testing, and in that testing, you're actually activating and you're creating action as you test out, like whatever that idea is, whatever that new job is even, like, okay, maybe there's something I can test here as a new employee, or maybe there's something I can test with my music or that script that I'm writing and have somebody read it for you, have somebody listen to it. So even before you get to the money making part, test it out, and get, cultivate and do that self-talk to get you to that place where you can be a little braver to share and connect with other people.
I love that. Alexandra, I was thinking about the energy management or energy and how your energy is and how that might tie into generating intentional income as artists. And I'm just wondering if there's any other thoughts you might have as far as a step that an artist could take.
Yeah, I always say, Laura can certainly probably speak to this way better than I can, but like when you're doing marketing, right, you have to understand what are you selling, right? And being very clear of like, what is your product? Who is your demographic? Like, what is the story that you're telling? What is your brand voice? All of that needs to come through in who you are and what you're trying to do. But when you're talking about money, I always say that like the mind likes numbers. So when you're working in hypnosis, right, there's a reason that we count down, right? Counting down is relaxing because the mind knows how to like digest. Going down a number means I'm relaxing more, 9. Numbers are great for the mind. And like, if you can give, it's like, I want to make X amount of dollars, put a number on it, put a rationale on it, put what it will feel like when you have that. Take the timeline again, maybe even off of it if you want. Like that can be really helpful because like, oh, well, it has to be a year. It has to be next week. Again, like I think everything Tanya was saying, it's like, put it out there, test it, see what works. I remember when I was starting my hypnotherapy practice back in like, it must have been 2009. I just needed to practice in front of a camera because let's face it, you're just babbling the whole time, right? And I put a TMJ video out there. It is the worst video ever. I still laugh to this day because it's like I'm sitting there on the camera going, blah, 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 blah. But it has like so many views. And I was like, who knew like I would get all these views from a TMJ video? Like there's an audience out there that needs this clearly. So let me make another one. And I sort of found this little niche that I could work into. So again, like you just never know when you put things out there, but be intentional of what you're putting out there. And then it's like, do your research of like, how can I monetize this? How are other people monetizing it? And do the research to like figure that out. It's certainly not easy. Like money, you got to manifest it. You got to want it. I know we created, because money is such a funny belief system too, right? There's so many things on a subconscious level we hold on to. Even in the Burble app, we created a whole money category just because of this issue, right? It's like, how do I manifest it? How do I overcome the belief systems? How do I know that I'm worthy of money? Like, how do I know that I have value? Because what is money? Like, it's an exchange for something of value. What value am I bringing? Answer these questions, right? Like, the more that you can understand what you're selling, the better that you're going to be able to sell it too.
I'm looking at the time and we've got to start to wrap this up. So I would love for the listeners to know and the viewers to know, I'm so grateful for you three. First of all, I need to say that. Okay, coming back. No especie. How can listeners or viewers connect with you, find out more? Instagram, websites, what you offer. You mentioned Alexandra, the Burble app, which is amazing. I've used it. I use it. So please share.
Yes. So my handle on Instagram is I am Alexandra Janelli. So my name right on the screen. You can find my everything through that. But if you want to go Burble, GOBURBLE.com. And my private practice is thetaspring.com. Theta, like the Greek letter. And you can find me in all those places. Please hit me up, say hello, feedback, ask questions. I love connecting with people. This has been really fun, Tina. Thank you. Ladies, you're amazing. I've actually learned a lot tonight. And as much as sometimes I'm tired, I'm like, I feel so inspired now. So
yeah, this is a good group. Tanya.
Tina.
Yeah, I wanted to, that's one thing. I'll say this before I give you my information. Inspiration is everything. So one thing I just want to leave is that, I invite everyone listening tonight is to invite yourself into those spaces where the thing that you're into, you get to be a part of it, whether it's being on this live, listening to a podcast, even going to a free event. There's so much free stuff in New York, which I love. But get into those spaces where you can feel inspired. I think that changes everything. If you think about the word inspiration, in that word is in spirit. So be in spirit of the music, the podcast that might be about how to build your business, whatever it is. And I think that's my practice too, is to just be in spirit. So where can you find me? My Instagram handle is @YourLifeCoached. So it's Coach, COACHED, @YourLifeCoached. My website is yourlifecoach.com. I do want to offer up for anybody listening tonight who's interested in coaching. I don't know what that discount discount would be or bonus would be, but as part of the coaching package, maybe you get another session or a certain amount off. I just have to decide what that is. But reach out to me via Your Life Coach. You can definitely DM me at Your Life Coach. And then for anything production wise, you can follow me at Mama Bear Media Group or go to LinkedIn. A lot of my sort of TV career stuff is mostly there. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, Tina. Thank you. This has been so fun.
Awesome. Laura.
All right. Yeah. Just to echo, this has been phenomenal. I've learned a lot too, being on this. So thank you, ladies, so much. It's been super insightful. The agency is Growth Spurt Strategies. So, imagine a child entering their growth spurt. It's growthspurtstrategies.com. My Instagram handle is at Growth Spurt Strategies. I'm on YouTube, LinkedIn. You can also find me on, my name, Laura Bailey-Wickins. And DM me, find me on LinkedIn, send me a message. Let me know that you found me through this Instagram Live, through Building Doors. And so what I can offer is, a strategy session for folks in addition to a consultation. I like to do an initial 30 minutes just so understand your goals. But because it's such an amazing opportunity, if you DM me and let me know that you found me through this opportunity, we can put something together, see if you need help with your social media marketing, help build an online portfolio for you, get you found on Google Business Profile, all of that stuff. So help you get yourself online and seen. That's the goal.
Yes.
Her verbal.
Oh my goodness.
DM me and I can get you a free trial subscription of the free thing. So just DM me. Got it.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, a huge thank you to my guests for sharing their time and expertise today. On behalf of Building Doors, we truly appreciate you, and a big shout out to everyone who joined us live. Want to support the campaign? Yes, you do. Buy us a coffee. Go to buyacoffee.com/buildingdoorsvo.com to donate. And thanks to our recent supporters, William Nunn and Sandy Harrison Cooksey. Remember, we'd love to keep the conversation going, so call 216-307-1917 anytime to leave a short voicemail with your thoughts on today's discussion and the Building Doors campaign. And do not miss the next live event. This is going to be a LinkedIn Live with Tim Powers, improv games, woohoo, June 11th at 12 p.m. Eastern on LinkedIn. Thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Building Doors. It was an honor to be with you three and the masses tonight. Appreciate you all.
Yes. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Night, night.
Thanks for listening to the Building Doors podcast. Want to hear more? Check out all our episodes at buildingdoorsvo.com/podcast and follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Building Doors VO. We'd love to hear from you, so call us on our 24/7 hotline at 216-307-1917 and leave us a voicemail with your thoughts. Do you want to support the podcast? Well, we love coffee. Buy us a cup through the link in the description or at buildingdoorsvo.com. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep speaking up, and let's keep building doors together.